British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has been fined for breaching lockdown laws after a series of parties at number 10 Downing Street during the pandemic. Key points: British Prime Minister Boris Johnson will receive a fine from police for breaking COVID-19 rules after a series of parties at Downing Street. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson will receive a fine from police for breaking COVID-19 rules after a series of parties at Downing Street. Finance Minister Rishi Sunak and Mr. Johnson's wife Carrie confirmed they would also be receiving fines for lockdown breaches. Finance Minister Rishi Sunak and Mr. Johnson's wife Carrie confirmed they would also be receiving fines for lockdown breaches. The opposition has called for Mr. Johnson and Mr. Sunak to resign over the breaches. The fine was related to a birthday party thrown for the Prime Minister on June 19, 2020. Mr. Johnson said he had paid the fine and wanted to offer a full apology, but said he would not resign as he did not believe he was breaching the law at the time. There was a brief gathering in the cabinet room shortly after 2 p.m., lasting less than 10 minutes, during which people I worked with passed on their good wishes, Mr. Johnson said. At that time it did not occur to me this might have been a breach of the rules. The police have found otherwise and I fully respect the outcome of their investigation. ITV News reported earlier this year that up to 30 people had attended the event organised by Mr. Johnson's wife Carrie, including interior designer Lulu Little, who had been renovating the Prime Minister's residence. Mrs. Johnson has also been notified that she will be fined for breaking lockdown rules, her spokesperson said, while Downing Street also confirmed Chancellor of the Exchequer Rishi Sunak had also received notification he would be fined. Earlier on Tuesday, the Metropolitan Police Service said it had issued a further 30 fines for people, after launching an investigation in January following a series of media reports about the events. Last week police said they had issued 20 fines to people over 12 different events that happened between 2020 and 2021. Early findings of an investigation by senior civil servant Sue Gray blamed the parties on a failure of leadership in Downing Street and the civil service. In January, Mr. Johnson apologised for attending a Bring Your Own Booze party in the garden of number 10, where more than 100 staff were invited to the event on May 22, 2020. Mr. Johnson said he considered the garden of number 10 as an extension of the office, and that the gathering that was happening was a work event. When I went into that garden just after 6 on the 20th of May 2020 to thank groups of staff, before going back into my office 25 minutes later to continue working, I believed implicitly that this was a work event, he told the House of Commons on January 12. Just an hour before the garden drinks, the then Culture Secretary Oliver Dowden had told the nation during a press conference that they could only meet in pairs outside, as per the restrictions at the time. It is understood Mr. Johnson could face further fines for other events he attended that breached lockdown laws. Opposition calls for Mr. Johnson to resign. Opposition leader Sir Keir Starmer said Mr. Johnson and Mr. Sunak were not fit to govern and should step down. Boris Johnson and Rishi Sunak have broken the law and repeatedly lied to the British public, he said in a statement. They must both resign. The Labour Party has joined other opposition parties, the Scottish National Party and the Liberal Democrats, in calling for the government to recall Parliament early from the Easter recess. The COVID-19 Bereaved Families for Justice group echoed the calls for Mr. Johnson to step down. After everything that's happened, it's still unbelievably painful to know that the Prime Minister was partying and breaking his own lockdown rules, while we were unable to be at our loved ones' sides in their dying moments, or in miserable funerals with only a handful of people, because we were following the rules, spokesperson Lobby Akinola said in a statement. The fact that the Prime Minister and his Chancellor then lied about it, and would have continued to do so if the police hadn't intervened, is truly shameless. They broke the law. But even worse, they took us all for mugs. M to mute, left and right arrows to seek, up and down arrows for volume. Watch 15 minutes 2 seconds 15 M. Will winter bring a COVID-19 onslaught?